Hey, flipping down to the other side of this, let's not forget who won that football game just a couple weeks ago. Let's not forget who looked, even though they didn't have their A game against Cincinnati, just dominant in another college football playoff semifinal appearance, the Alabama Crimson Tide. You got to believe that those players are going to be confident going into this football game. I know things weren't trending their way in the Iron Bowl, but something clicked late in that game. They got confidence, and ever since that time, they've looked unstoppable. They play that way again here on Monday. They are going to win another national championship. I still think that Georgia may have the better overall team, but I don't think there's any question who's got the best star players, key players in this game. Quarterback Bryce Young, Will Anderson, edge defender Jamison Williams, Alabama. Those may be the three best players on the field on Saturday. And we all know having an advantage at the quarterback position gives you an advantage in a football game that just not cannot be replicated. And if we get in a shootout style game, how can you not like Bryce Young over Stetson Bennett? Stetson's a great story. Bryce Young is an elite prodigy type talent, and he's already displayed that in just his first season. So if you're Alabama, I think you want a high scoring game. Now, again, maybe that's easier said than done. John Mechie, no longer there. He's out for the season. Georgia's elite defense, you already took advantage of them once. Can you do that again? How challenging will that be 2 times in 3 games to abuse Georgia's defense? Not saying it can't be done, but a lot easier said than done. If Bryce Young is going to have a big game, it's going to come down to Doug Marrone and his offensive line. How's the latest injury update? That's going to be a big question all week in Tuscaloosa. Let's kick it over to Nick Saban, asked to provide the latest update on the injury front there on Alabama's offensive line.
Hey, Nick, I know you had a couple of injuries on the offensive line. Can you provide an update on those guys and on Owens and Ekiyor? And also, why was that unit so effective against Georgia in the SEC championship game?
Well, I think, first of all, from an injury standpoint, we really don't have a lot of updates. We're practicing today for, the first time. So we'll kind of see how these guys progress during the week. We're hopeful that we'll get, some guys back. But I think if you're going to have any success against any team, especially against a team that has, the number one defense in the country, it probably starts up front. So for our offensive line to play well and be effective, whether it's a run, whether it's a pass, regardless of what the circumstance is, I think most plays are going to start with how well can we do up front against a outstanding, front seven unit who's proven that all year long. So we're always trying to prepare our players to, play extremely well. And, we need to do it in this game. And if we're going to have any kind of success offensively, it'll start up front in this game as well.
All right, and I teased it before, Brock Bowers. I mean, that's a guy that's on Nick Saban's radar. Gotta stop us, Brock Bowers. He, while Georgia didn't have a great game in Atlanta in the championship, Brock Bowers, he got his. And I know a lot of that came late, but he looked like the best player on Georgia's offense in that game. Arguably looked like that in the college football playoff game too. So limiting Brock Bowers is going to be paramount to this game. You got to think Pete Golding, Nick Saban, they're going to be staying up late all week trying to scheme around Brock Bowers. Here's what Nick Saban had to say about him, who, my goodness, he's just a freshman.
What allowed Brock Bowers to be so impactful in the first time that you guys played? And just what have you seen from him in the game since against Michigan?
I think this guy is one of the premier players in college football. I know he's just a freshman, but this guy's got great size. He's a good blocker. He's physical. He's tough. And he's got wide receiver skills in every way, shape, or form, which makes it difficult being a bigger guy for bigger guys to cover him. And it makes it also difficult for smaller guys to cover him. So this guy is just a phenomenal football player all the way around. They do a really good job of featuring his talents as well. And he's been extremely productive in a lot of ways. I know everybody always knows the passes that he catches, but he's also a really good blocker and does a good job in his part of executing whatever he needs to do to, help his teammates have success as well.
All right, and then one other thing here from Nick Saban I thought was pretty interesting. We talked a little bit about being underdogs. Will that be played up? Behind the scenes, Nick Saban is going to be using that to fuel his Crimson Tide team. But he ain't biting when asked the question. Someone was going to ask him, what's it like being the underdog in a game matchup you just won just 2 games ago?
Being an underdog to Georgia worked pretty well for you last time. How look back on that? How were you able to maybe use that to your advantage, and how might you use it advantage if you're indeed a slight underdog this time?
I don't know. Being an underdog is being an underdog. They have a really good team that's very well respected. We have a tremendous amount of respect for them. And I think, it's important for our players to know what they need to do to be able to continue to have success in the next game, regardless of what happened in the last game, and regardless who was favored and who was underdogs and all that kind of stuff. I everybody has pride in performance. Everybody wants to go play well, and we certainly want to do everything as coaches that we can to help our players go out and play well and compete well in the game.
Man, I wish we could give Nick Saban some truth serum under this one, because that was complete coach speak. But I just wanted to throw it out there because, that's the question that, was going to be asked of Nick Saban. And that was his kind of half-hearted answer. But one really good response, final thing here from Nick Saban.